We all heard so many stories of suffering and pain, suicide, depression, and yeah, when you have people telling you, thank you, you saved my life, well, that's worth it, right? Yeah, I'd do it again. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. We're going to celebrate. We did a bit last night, and we're heading home tonight to celebrate with the kids at home and go. Yeah, yell. I want to get outside in front of my house and give a loud freedom yell. So we all heard so many stories of suffering and pain, suicide, depression, and yeah, when you have people telling you, thank you, you saved my life, well, that's worth it, right? Yeah, I'd do it again. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that.
Who would have thought that nearly 3.5 years later, some Canadians would still be facing criminal charges for their involvement in the Freedom Convoy protest in Ottawa? That's exactly what happened to Harold Jonker, a father, the owner and operator of Jonker Trucking, and a former municipal councillor in West Lincoln. Not only did he face political repercussions from the council, but 15 months after the protest ended, he was hit with criminal charges. Jonker was charged with mischief, counseling mischief, intimidation, and counseling intimidation. But before I let you on the full interview with Chris Fleury, I invite you to stay tuned because just after, I have with me Harold Jonker to speak about the big victory. So, Mr. Fleury, you're the lawyer for Harold Jonker, and yesterday you had big victory, and I want to hear you on that.
Right. Thank you, Alexandra. It was, I would say, unexpected to a certain extent. A criminal case is always an uphill battle. Defending anyone of any crime is always an uphill battle. So we're just absolutely over the moon in terms of Harold being acquitted of all 4 charges. So he was charged with mischief, counseling mischief, intimidation, counseling intimidation, in relation to his role in the Freedom Convoy. So for anybody who doesn't know Harold, he was a road captain for the Niagara region, and this was pretty uncontroversial at the trial. He led a contingent of truckers from the Niagara region to Ottawa. He liaised with police while he did that. They told him how to get into Ottawa and where to park. And then the big issue at the trial was exactly what happened after that. Where was Harold during the Freedom Convoy? What did he do? What did he say? Where did he park a truck? And the Crown did not have a lot of evidence on any of these issues. So what they relied on primarily is Harold gave a series of interviews to Fox News a number of times, but also to independent Canadian podcasters. And the Crown relied on those videos where at least one of them showed Harold downtown. At least one of them showed him in a truck downtown. Some of them, he's generally encouraging the Freedom Convoy, but he never goes as far as to say things like honk your horns, come here and park a truck or block traffic. He never says anything like that. He certainly expresses support for the convoy. Says that the convoy is going to stay right where it is. But that was the case against Harold, primarily those videos and a couple other witnesses who observed Jonker trucking trucks downtown, although they didn't know who Harold Jonker was, had never met him before. They had a couple police officers as well who made observations downtown during the convoy. And ultimately, because I should clarify this too, is that the Freedom Convoy itself was not on trial. It was Harold Jonker who's on trial. And the issue is not, did the Freedom Convoy commit mischief? And in fact, the judge found that the Freedom Convoy did commit mischief. But the question was, what was Harold Jonker's role, if any, in said criminal mischief? And he was left with a reasonable doubt that Harold Jonker had any role in it.
Do you think they are trying to make an example for not having another convoy or something like that happening again in Ottawa?
I suppose I can't speak to what the Crown's motivations are. They certainly are devoting a lot of resources to these cases. So Harold in particular, he wasn't charged at the time of the Freedom Convoy. He was charged, I believe, about 15 months later, in May of 2023. So the reason for that delay, it did come up in trial, and we know that they were investigating Harold at the time of the Freedom Convoy. His bank accounts, or his business bank accounts, I should say, were frozen. Police were, we know from the evidence that was disclosed, that police were watching the videos of Harold on Fox News and so forth at the time or shortly after the Freedom Convoy. But they delayed 15 months in charging him. That the evidence at trial was that that was related to a police detective illness, was off on leave for some period. I suppose we can't really speak to how legitimate that is. It certainly speaks to the prioritization that police gave of a case like that it certainly, you would never see a serious criminal offense just shelved for a period of about 15 months because a police officer was on a leave. But these other cases, my understanding is that most of them have wound down. That most of the cases have made their way through the system. There are still a couple, and there's still a couple that I'm involved in, but I think a lot of them have thankfully resolved one way or the other.
Maître Fleury mentioned the video interviews given by Jonker during the convoy were part of the Crown's evidence. But I wanted to ask, what else did police rely on when laying the charges?
It was primarily the videos. So there's 12 videos that they admitted into evidence. They gave us more than that, but they only relied on 12 at the trial. There were 2 civilian witnesses who observed Jonker trucking trucks, although they didn't know Jonker trucking, they just recorded the plates. One of the witnesses said that the truck honked at him, and then but couldn't identify who the person was in the driver's seat of the truck, had never met Harold Jonker, and so forth. The Crown called the Ottawa Transportation Services, I believe her title was event manager. She also testified in the Tamara Leach trial, and the essence of her testimony was essentially that bus routes couldn't go through downtown Ottawa during the convoy. They called a police liaison team officer who made observations about what went on in downtown Ottawa. She was the only person who had ever even spoken to Harold Jonker, and her evidence was that she made a phone call, which she didn't really remember, but she phoned Harold on February 19th after the convoy was essentially concluded, and telling him that there were several Jonker trucking trucks that needed to be picked up. And so that was the only person who had ever even spoken with Harold Jonker. And then they called the investigating officer who was used to admit all of the videos. But I would characterize it as a relatively thin case. And that's what we said in our closing arguments. And that's ultimately, I can't say the judge found that it was a thin case, but certainly agreed with us that the evidence wasn't there to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Harold was guilty of a criminal offense.
When we left at the end of the convoy, our Jonker trucking company was shut down for a week. We were sanctioned by the Ontario government, saying that our commercial registration number is sanctioned for a week, so we couldn't have any of our trucks on the road. And then when I came back as town councillor, I was found guilty of breaking the code of conduct according to our code of conduct lawyer, which I wasn't guilty of breaking. I didn't do anything illegal during the convoy, and but yeah, the integrity commissioner found me guilty of breaking the code of conduct. So I was docked basically 30 days of pay, which town councillors make pretty good money, but in West Lincoln, we're a small township, so I think that cost me in around $2,000 of salary, which I didn't really care about. But the JCCF encouraged me to file a judicial review against that, which I did with their help. And sadly, we lost that. So we're still waiting to hear back from the judges on how much I need to pay the township lawyers that argued against us there, and they're still looking for $51,000. Obviously, we're saying it should be way less than that, so we're hoping that it is. And so that's still hanging over my head, how much I got to pay there. Thankfully, we've been able to raise a lot of money in fundraising for that and any of my legal fees. Then I was actually served a subpoena saying that I've been added as Harold Jonker, and Jonker Trucking has been added to the big lawsuit that the Paul Champ and Zexi Lee have filed against the convoy. So that happened, and then I also was called by Niagara Police saying I need to turn myself in because the Ottawa Police have put out an APP. So I had to do that and turn myself in, found out I was charged with mischief, intimidation, and 2 counts of counseling an uncommitted indictable offense, which, woohoo! I feel like yelling, I feel like crying. But at the same time, it's still a weird mixed feeling because, okay, I'm not guilty, but there's still so many others who are facing what I faced, were found guilty, and so, yeah, I'm very thankful for what I heard yesterday from my judge, and yeah, the feelings you get are still kind of mixed, right? Because there's still so many that are in court dealing with stuff. We still have stuff hanging over our heads, but we're going to move forward. We're going to win this.
I can understand that now it's not done yet. You still have some courts coming up. You just mentioned that you are mentioned in the class action from the Ottawa citizen. It's been almost 3 years and a half.
Yeah.
Would you do it again, knowing all this today?
Yes. I actually just had a conversation with a couple that we never met them before, but we were having lunch with Chris Barber and a few other people, and this couple, we were just telling them what was going on, and the memories that come back, right, are just mind-boggling, and the amount of support and love that we receive from Canadians, and then what we gave to Canadians, I wouldn't trade for the world, right? Like, sad to see 3 years ago that it was truck drivers that gave the world hope. And yeah, there's been so many stories that every truck driver, anybody that was up at the convoy here during the 3 weeks, we all heard so many stories of suffering and pain, suicide, depression, and yeah, when you have people telling you, thank you, you saved my life, well, that's worth it, right? Yeah, I'd do it again. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that.
Do you believe they took you to make you as an example, to not do it again, this kind of convoy or big protests to criticize the government?
They definitely came after, I think, people who seem to have a bit of a voice, and we can guess all we want, why me and why not other people, and there's a lot of people that are saying, like, you're taking it for the team, like, why you? And I'm like, that's okay. But I think, yeah, they really realized we gotta get people to understand we don't want to see this happen again, and you are going to pay the price if you dare stand up for the truth or dare to stand up for those who can't. And would I do some things a little different when it came to the convoy? Maybe, but at the same time, it was just such a grassroots movement that I don't think anybody could have expected it to be as big as it was. And yeah, that's what made it perfect almost, right? And yeah, they don't want people. They definitely went after people who seem to have a bit of a position or opportunity to speak in a more public way than other people. So it's an example. Don't do this again. And you're seeing it all over the country, right? In Holland, there was a big mess with their protests, and definitely anybody that had a bit of influence or whatever was definitely taken care or targeted. And but yeah, like another wonderful lady in Ottawa said to me, when you do things for the right reason, you don't back down. And yeah, you still have to respect the laws of the land. You still have to do things lawfully. But yet, in our eyes, what we did in Ottawa was lawful. There were some people that were maybe a little bit more loud on their horns than other people. There were some intersections that were issues, but we were always trying to work with the police, and they can't deny that. Like I've said to people, I can't understand how even the Crown can do their job seeing what is going on when it comes to real crime and true crime. And then on top of that, you see it with the protests that are going on. Like there's such a double standard that it, like, yeah, we're all sitting here going, how can they not see this? How can they not do anything? How can they do their job of still coming after us when they see the double standard? Like I don't understand it. And I think some of those people are seeing it. I think there's some of the Crowns that are going, yeah, this is not adding up, and I'm not going to do this anymore. But it is. It's always shocking or concerning that they're wasting so much of your tax dollars, my tax dollars, going after this peaceful protest when there's real crimes that are still being committed, and then being very easy on any other type of protest, right? Like, but we've seen it already with Black Lives Matter and our Prime Minister breaking the COVID restriction laws by going to protest with them. And then, a year later, he refuses to talk to the biggest protest in the history of Canada, and he refuses to talk to us, and he calls us racist and misogynists and bigots. And you can't help but go, how can you not see this, people? And I think people are seeing that. People are starting to wake up to that. Wait a minute, this is not making sense.
Among those who are facing prosecution is Tamara Lich. And as you know, the Democracy Fund are currently defending Tamara. So if you want to participate and donate to help her in her defense, go over helptamara.com right now and make a donation. Thanks.